Maybe they
There
somehow
we
got
go.
reversed.
Okay. No, the other one. The what DOE
It's in the
is
middle
proposing.
slide.
Okay, here we go. All right. So what DOE is proposing, they want to retrieve tank waste from one tank farm. And if you guys want more detail on that, you have to ask Matt. But there's, as you probably know, there's three different components in these tanks. There's the sludge, there's the salt cake, and then there's the supernate or supernatant. I'm not sure what it's called. The liquid that floats on top. So what they want to do is they want to recover the liquid. They want to add water, dissolve this salt cake, and then remove the most of the radioisotopes, at least the cesium, and then treat that resulting waste stream as low activity waste, and then solidify that liquid waste in grout, and it ends up off-site somewhere, Utah or Texas. But this WEIR did not specify exactly where the grout would be or where the waste would be solidified in grout, nor did they specify the method of transportation or transportation routes. So this is important, I think, as a policy issue to the board because it does set a precedent for the similar waste in other tank farms. And then just as importantly, they did not eliminate the off-site liquid radioactive waste shipment. Next slide, the one with there we go. So some of us took a critical look at this. It's over 100 pages. There was a lot of redundant detail in there. It looked to me like this report had kind of been padded a little bit. Um, but there was a lot of information that was missing. It didn't give us much information on waste volume. So how much waste is going to be generated, how much waste is going to be treated, not very clear. There was almost no information on the shipment. You know, disposal sites. Yes, they wanted to end up, depending on whether it's Class A or Class C, in Texas or Utah, but you know, a lot of missing information there. So our overall conclusion was it was kind of hard to review this and comment on this particular document because there's so much information missing. Next slide. So from a policy standpoint, here were our concerns. You know, obviously the risk of liquid radioactive waste transport across Oregon. The state has, again, longstanding opposition to moving liquid radioactive waste across the state. And so our recommendation going into this discussion is that, you know, we should ask DOE to produce a revised WEIR with additional detail. And we would reference a WEIR. This is this regulatory document. We would reference the one that they did for vitrification of the low activity waste. That particular document had a lot of detail, a lot of the detail that was missing from this document. So with that, I would like to turn it over to the board for discussion. Do we want to go ahead and comment? Is the existing draft comment letter acceptable? Is it too much, too little? So open it up for discussion. And I'm going to pick on people if you don't volunteer. So start with Mia.
I was part of the team that kind of worked on these comments, and I went back and looked at the vitrified low activity waste WEIR because it's one of the bigger ones that's allowing them to treat right now the waste through the law facility. And so I thought that that would be a good reference point to compare how they talked about the waste in that, and specifically in terms of numbers, because from reading this West area WEIR, the new one, it was surprising to me that they have absolutely no numbers in terms of volume, total volume of waste, and how much waste they're starting with, how much water they need to actually mobilize this waste, with which some of it is in the form of salt cake, which is more of a solid. So we know they're going to add water to mobilize it. How many gallons will be shipped off site? How much will that produce in terms of grouted waste? There's a ton of outstanding questions. We don't know where the waste is going to be grouted. We don't know how it's going to be shipped. So as you can see, there's a lot of information we really don't know. And so that's where our comments are coming from, in terms of we need more information in order to have informed, critical look at what you're proposing. And so that, I think they're strong comments, but I'd like to hear from others that weren't on the team that wrote them to see what you all think.
I think the focus on getting that extra information in the actual plan is super key, right? Like those seem like really important details. And if they aren't the plan, is it because they haven't thought about them, or they have and know that we won't like the answers, or so I think pushing for that clarity is very important.
Jeff, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Steve March, of all the people in this call, you probably have the longest tenure at Hanford. Historically, how would the board best handle this kind of situation? Other comments then?
I have been trying to spot check some of the numbers in the WEIR. There is an even bigger document entitled Supplemental Data for the 200 West Area Tank Treatment Mission, Waste Incidental to Reprocessing Evaluation and NEPA document, where more of the underlying assumptions and data are presented, but they make no sense. The tables don't line up. For example, SY 101 has a treatment volume that is less than the volume of supernatant and salt cake in the tank. Working from tables in that document, going from document to document, there are changes that are taking place that aren't captured in the Phoenix data. So it is essentially impossible for a third party like us to look at this. So I would really, really want to see a clear statement of what the process is going to be, in particular, whether an evaporation sequence is part of it, and how these numbers come into their final form.
Mike, you indicated that the Phoenix database was taken offline. Can you tell us what that database was and maybe what's going on there?
The WEIR refers several times to the TWINS database, which is maintained for the internal use of the DOE. However, I believe as part of the tri-party agreement, there is a public database called Phoenix, maintained by PNNL, which is supposed to present all of the same information. In fact, the WEIR refers specifically to the Phoenix database as the sole source of the inventories of radionuclides and other chemicals in the tanks. It had been accessible to me, and when I went to double check, it seemed to be gone. And I have to admit it, the experience of other people with government databases disappearing may have heightened my concern, but it's not there. I couldn't check it to confirm any of the conclusions in the WEIR. I had to work from database that I had downloaded previously.
Esteban, you have a comment or question?
Yeah, definitely. Like, one of the big things, even the red flags and everything, like I said, as a conflict analyst, that was always mentioned on the HAB and by people on the HAB and now on the Oregon Hanford Cleanup Board that, I mean, it's just gotten worse, right? And then I think it's a big thing. I mean, it's not hard. You don't need a nuclear PhD or something to figure out, right? That this is going to be a problem that information is not provided, right? It's for the safety of workers, personnel, citizens, and to me, the biggest thing, because when this administration was first in office, that they were, like I said, I mentioned before, they were trying to defund the EPA. I mean, I was doing 8 or 10 trips up to Congress to take scientists to testify who produced some of these reports and how stuff was being taken out. I mean, it's another subject, like on this data centers commission, when you ask them about how many jobs you produce and then they don't believe in climate change, the biggest advocates, that's another whole up the subject is like, how can you even have a conversation with these folks and make them understand that, there's something up, right? I mean, there's a huge red flag that if you're omitting all this information, it's for a reason. I mean, you don't need to be a freaking rocket scientist to figure it out.
Okay, thank you. David, I know you took a look at this. What's your thoughts?
Are you ready to talk? Yeah, I think we have to comment on it because if you read something and you have more questions after you read it, it's definitely worth commenting on. Like Esteban said, like we're going to potentially do things with this, moving the waste that does put workers and the public at risk. And as being an ex-worker, I mean, that's really important to me that we know what we're getting into. So yeah, I definitely, definitely we should comment on that. So there's just too many. It's coming from a design standpoint. If I had to sit down and design anything that we talked about, I couldn't because you have no idea of volumes and where things come from, where they go, and it's just, I mean, my opinion only is it was just a document to produce a document. It's we did something on this, but that's just my opinion. That's my opinion.
Okay. Steve March, are you back online? I guess not.
Steve, you're off mute, but we can't hear you.
Okay, Allison, haven't heard from you. Have you had a chance to review the comment letter, the draft?
Yeah, I did indeed read it. Thank you so much for sharing it with me. I think at this point, I don't have enough historical knowledge of this specific issue to weigh in, but it's something that I've shared with the main nuclear person at OSPR, and hopefully we'll be able to weigh in on future things.
Okay, great. One of the problems with this is we have a 30-day comment period. It's very, very short. And I understand that the Confederated Tribes or someone asked for an extension and that was refused. So we have to, if we're going to comment on this, we've got to get something in the next week or less. So any other comments from the board? And then I would ask probably Matt for his perspective on what we put on the table. Any other comments? Matt, your perspective?
Well, I want to reinforce for the board that when getting the comments done is important, but it's also important to phrase them in such a way that the responding agencies like DOE can't just say, this isn't a part of what we're talking about. So make sure your comments are linked to within the WEIR itself or the WEIR criterion. I think criterion 3 is where I see the most fertile ground for comments. And I think you're getting pretty close to that as well. I might also point out, if you're looking at the poor data, Mike is right, and then the Phoenix system has been difficult to use recently, and it does look like it's being phased out. And I put a screenshot of that comment. But it's also important to look at what you can get. And Appendix 9 is one that's really started to concern me more and more as I've been going along. Let me see if I can share my screen here. This one here. There we go. Can everyone see this table D9 or D5? Excuse me. So what we're looking at here is if you look at retrieved waste volume and estimated disposal volume, it is a simple 1.5. That's the dilution factor for adding concrete, is what this table D5 is. But I'm starting to find it very interesting, the retrieved volumes that they used, and trying to relate that to the amount of water needed. This is interesting, is just between these two tanks, and I will point out tank, if you get a chance, tank U112. U112 is almost empty. It's only got 4,000 gallons of supernatant or salt cake in it. And it's saying a retrieved volume of 1545 and estimated disposal volume of almost 2 million gallons. That's very interesting to me. And if you had the chance to do some math, I know it's a heavy lift right now. There might be fertile ground to comment on some of these assumptions as well when it comes to the underlying assumptions behind the actual WEIR and the criterion, and the fact that some of these sites, if there's just the 2 million gallons of processing capability, where's that other 900,000 gallons a year going to be processed? Or excuse me, 2 million to 2.9 million. Sorry, so 900,000 gallons.
Mark Reese.
Thanks, Chair. It sounds like you're getting close to needing to take a motion for board action regarding this. So just want to reiterate, somebody needs to propose what that motion's going to be and discuss consensus so we can record it on the record.
Okay, thank you. I think I would close the discussion by reading the next to the last paragraph in this document, because it kind of sums it up. Because the draft WEIR evaluation lacks essential information regarding waste volumes, shipments, and treatment and disposal facilities, the board is unable to conduct a meaningful review of DOE's analysis. As a result, the board does not support the draft WEIR evaluation for the 200 West tanks and recommends that DOE withdraw and substantially revise the document before further consideration. So that's what we're proposing. So would like to entertain a motion to either adopt the current draft comments or modify it, but in any case, issue it before the deadline. So, anyone? It's got to be a board member or not.
I would propose that we adopt the letter as written with a small amendment. We're so concerned about volumes because that affects the number of trucks moving through Oregon. And I think we ought to be explicit in including such a statement in the text. Otherwise, I support it as written.
So
And I move the board adopt the letter as written with that one amendment.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor. I think first we would ask for unanimous consent. And are there any objections? If there is an objection, then we will vote on the measure. So asking for unanimous consent, are there any objections? Seeing none, the motion is adopted. Thank you, Mike and Stephen. Okay, back to the agenda. I think we're 4 or 5 minutes early. Matt, is there anything, or Max, anything else before we leave the ODO section of the agenda and move into board business?
I don't think so, Mr. Chair. Matt, Tom, anything else we didn't cover?
Oh, check in with Mark too as the meeting organizer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're good. I just want to go back to that motion. Jeff, will you put that into that document? And then before we conclude, can you post that into the chat so we've got it in that record there too?
Okay, I will do that. So we're going to move into board business. And while I do that, Stephen, do you have the agenda in front of you?
I actually do.
Well, okay, maybe you could take over this section while I get this document in the chat, okay?
Okay, I had the agenda open. Where's the agenda?
It's
There's
the
the
August site
agenda.
tour. Do you want me to take over?
That would be great because what I have on the agenda is the first point is the August site tour.
Back in November, when we were given updates about the prep for the true shipments, the transuranic waste shipments, the road show that was talked about in the planning for the true shipments is going to kick off this summer. The goal that Carlsbad field office has is to begin the road show in Washington State, come down through Oregon. There's going to be approximately 3 stops. My proposal as part of the planning group was that we bring the Oregon Hanford Cleanup Board and invited public officials up to Richland. It'll be the week of August 17th. We start with the road show and a site tour. I've contacted DOE and said, here's what we'd like to do. Since you're bringing the empty whip truck up there to kick off the road show, let's get as many Oregon officials, including the Oregon Hanford Cleanup Board, up there. And that way the truck's there. If we can get onto the site, maybe we get to the Central Waste Complex so the board and others can see where the true has been stored for several years, waiting for this campaign to kick off. And that way everybody can get questions answered. You can see the truck. You can talk to the folks from Carlsbad, DOE, Hanford, etc. So That's the week of the 17th. We're working out the exact date that week, but right now that's the planning week hold is August 17th. We will secure the hotel rooms for the board and other folks. You know, we probably won't do a business meeting during that time, but there's a potential that we could. But the goal is to get up there ahead of part of the roadshow planning for the true shipments, because it's tentatively scheduled for 2028 start. Although we've heard more than once now, that could get moved into 27. So the rest of the dates related to the roadshow and the locations, you can start in Richland. We've asked for site step number 2 to be somewhere in Umatilla County. Then it would go to Union County and LeGrand, and then we finish up on Ontario. Just as another segue, myself, Dr. Steve Reese from Oregon State University, who's our lead technical advisor, my colleague Todd Carpenter from Oregon Health Authority's Office of Radiation Protection Services will be in Ontario, in Malheur County, in next month, but I think that the 9th of April, as part of that outreach that we've been doing along the corridor to bring everybody up to speed on what's currently happening on the corridor with other radioactive material shipments, and then also with the prep for the true shipping campaign. So there's going to be a lot going on. Plus, we've got ongoing training and such for the first responders and everybody else, which colleague Hillary Haskins, who's been in this meeting too, is also involved in from Oregon Health Authority's Office of Radiation Protection Services. So planning hold week is August 17th for the roadshow for that piece. Do you want me to segue into the next bullet item, which is the transportation?
I was about to suggest that, yes.
Okay. This is a resumption of true shipping. True shipping occurred for several years until the incident down at WIP in 2014, where they had to close shipping off for several years. They're playing catch up now. Prior to that, this board had a transportation committee that was involved in helping with some of the oversight at the board level for the true shipping campaign. So we wanted to present that to the board again to see if they wanted to form another committee as part of the planning process. The last time, I think when we looked at the records, was 2010, but there was a committee, it was a subcommittee, just like we've done subcommittees on other projects. It is in the bylaws, and it's also a stipulation, I believe, under RS 469 for the board. So wanted to kind of present that and for discussion. Mr. Chair, I see that you're back, so Chair and Vice Chair can lead that discussion to see if you want to get that committee going, which will also be part of our planning process for the true shipping campaign, and potentially other things that we know are on the horizon for Hanford shipping, potentially grounded waste. So I'll leave that open for discussion.
Okay, canvass the group in terms of your level of interest in participating in a subcommittee. Since we're virtual, maybe you could raise your hand, hit that little icon if you're interested. Okay, Michael, Mia, let's see, and Allison. Okay, I think that's critical mass. So we have a subcommittee, and I will work with you guys over the next month or so to kind of get it off the ground. And Mark, that's
I'll go back in the file too and dig up some of the work that the committee did in the past and share some of those minutes, the things that we can find. Tom was good enough to dig back and find it from when it ended in 2010, but it was something that happened before. Hate to pick on Steve March again because I know he's having technical difficulties, but Steve might have even been involved in that prior when he was on the board, but it'll be a productive function. And then at the regular meetings, then that committee can report out as we're heading into 2028.
Okay, and the ODO contact for that effort will be Mark, you or Tom?
Me, supported by my teammates.
Okay. So we need next to pick a date for the August meeting, or did that happen while I checked out?
Got a planning hold the week of the 17th. So mark the week of the 17th. I'm working with the Hanford folks to try and nail down the date. So if we did it, like let's say the 18th, the travel day would be the 17th. We would pick up vans again from the motor pool, pick up people along the way. So we would travel like the day before. The next day we would have the meeting. We would probably have it in concert with our colleagues from the state of Washington also. So everybody's the same place at the same time. I sit on the WIP tag, which is the Waste Isolation Pilot Plant Technical Advisory Group with Eddie and with Suzanne from Ecology. So I know that in the planning meetings, they're both involved too, to try and get everybody at the same place at the same time. So that week of the 17th, I just don't know the date yet. But like I said, we're going to lock down fairly good chunk of one of the hotels in Richland for the board and the other invited guests for that week. And again, help provide for transportation. Because it's a board-related function, you would be entitled to per diem for any travel related to that too. But I don't think we're going to tie in a business meeting to that. It'll be specific for True Campaign and that roadshow. Max, am I forgetting anything?
I don't think so related to the August meeting, but the next item here, I think we'll talk about is, do we want to meet before that August meeting?
Yeah.
But August sounds, typical. We'll have vans or cars traveling from Salem, Clackamas, Hood River out. Please join us. Like Mark said, exact dates TBD, but that'll be our next opportunity likely to get on site and have this important meeting.
So would it be possible to tag a half day on for a board meeting?
Depending on
it?
Depending, because if we do go out to the site too, that can make a long day. But that's open to the board, depending on other meetings that we're getting ready to talk about.
But what we've done in the past is head out fairly early on the day before, get there in time to have a meeting at that August, a couple hours at Ecology's office. Thanks, Ryan, for offering to host. It's a good space. So we could probably pull that off again.
Okay, let's leave that question open for the moment. Whitley, you have a question?
Yes, I just have a quick comment. Really happy to know that this meeting is potentially scheduled for August 17th. If the dates were to change, please do not change them to August 24th and 25th. That is Rep. Levy's Economic Summit dates.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just
noted. Okay, so back to the question. I think we have two options. One is to try to make time in August for a 3 or 4 hour board meeting. Otherwise, we could try to schedule a meeting in late June or July. Is there any appetite for, or what is the appetite for either one of these options? I think August then, minimize travel. Mia?
Well, I just want to ensure we meet at some point. It doesn't matter to me if it's in June, July, or August, but I think a meeting is definitely necessary. If we're just now meeting in March, I think there'll be a lot to talk about by summertime.
Yeah, Mia, our pitch was going to be to the board was to consider a June-ish meeting in person. We have, I think, enough money to be able to have another in-person meeting. Jeff, if you're amenable, interested, just for discussion here.
Yeah, the very first week or the very last week of June, I'm available, but that 3 weeks in the middle, I'm going to be goofing off in Italy. So, so that, that's certainly possible.
We can always poll the board as well with a email after this meeting if people don't have their calendars now, but just wanted to get the option in front of the board for consideration. To me, at your point, I think you're right. It's a long gap between now and August
Yes.
to not get together.
There's also, I'll point out, there's the National Transportation Stakeholders Forum meeting will be in June, which I'll be attending. So will Ecology will be there. So we'll probably have some more information related to True Campaign and others at that point. So I'll be reporting out on that information too. Also, well, Ryan, would you be okay with hosting the board again August if we're up in Richland?
Yeah, I think we'd be happy to host. I just have to double check to see if, which is so far out that I have to envision our conference rooms are free, but I envision that we should be able to.
Great, thank you. That way I won't bug you.
So that first week of June looks good on my calendar. Mark, when's the NTSF meeting? It's not the first week of June.
No, it's like
June
the third.
1st is a Monday. Happens to be Monday.
It's like the third.
Okay. Yeah, we
Sorry,
were
Mark.
thinking not necessarily going back to Richland, but somewhere in between.
Yeah.
Tom goes out Cascade Locks.
Okay, let's at least tentatively mark out the sometime in the first week of June.
Just to mention though, if there is that NTSB meeting and Mark's gonna have things to report back from it, that might argue for later in June being better, like at the end of June.
Well, yeah, but I can also bring that back. I mean, it'll definitely
For
be
August.
on the table for August too, but just for info.
Okay.
Okay, I think we have completed the planned board business. Are there any other issues the board would like to bring up or discuss at this point?
We got a whip tour to talk about.
Oh, yes, thank you. Before we go there, Mia, you had was that it?
That was it.
Okay, back to you, Mark and Tom. Whip.
Tom, go ahead.
Oh, I was trying to find the calendar. In May, we have a Hanford exercise, May 21st. And we wanted to extend an invitation to OHCB members if they're interested in coming to Salem and watching how we manage that, be a fly on the wall. Mark said he might put you to work, but we can send you more information if you're interested.
Yeah, thanks for that one, because I almost forgot about bringing that one up. We've got the Columbia Generating Station evaluate exercise next week. So we've also got, when we get done with that one, we'll be preparing for the annual Hanford exercise with our colleagues in Washington State also, and with Umatilla and Morrow County also.
Okay,
Back to fall whip tour.
Yeah, I do think it'd be great to get an invitation, and if some one or more of us wanted to attend the May event, that would be great.
I will get that info out to everybody. It'll be 4 hours. The exercise will go from approximately 8 in the morning till close to 1 o'clock. It'll be at Salem. We do a full activation of our agency operations center. Sage activates his center in Umatilla County, Steve Freeland in Morrow County, along with the state of Washington. Back to the whip tours. Part of the planning for the resumption of the True campaign, the True shipping campaign, we've advocated that we want to bring Oregon officials back down to whip again. I think the last one, Jeff, correct me, was 2024. You went down on that trip.
Yes.
So we've said that we want to try and get a 26 trip in, 27 trip in, and potentially a 28 members of the Oregon Hanford Cleanup Board and some other specific officials. So I've asked folks on a whip, I said, how's it looking for October, November, December? And they said all those months are good. We don't have a firm date yet, but wanted just trying to get a poll of the board to see who hasn't gone, who would like to go, so we can start that planning process. We cover travel for that. everyone would fly out of Portland. In the past, we've gone Portland, Phoenix into Roswell, New Mexico. We've done into Texas before, picked up a van, gone to Carlsbad. So I'll take care of the logistics planning on that, but I'll just need to try and get an idea of who wants to go that hasn't gone. Mia wants to go.
Volunteering. I would highly recommend it. And so for people like me, I probably would not want to go this year, but maybe next year.
Tom, go ahead.
I'm just saying, last time I tried to go, the conveyance was broken, so I'm going to be tour guide this year probably. So, and Roswell is sort of dicey to fly into, so I tend to try to fly other places.
You guys went into Midland, didn't you?
El Paso.
Okay. Mia, you were a definite go, right? Thumbs up for you? Okay.
Yes.
So we had Stephen, David, Mia, Allison. And then we will have to poll our legislators as well too, Mark.
Yeah, is Whitley still on?
And Esteban's on the list too.
Thank you.
What exact date? Bobby's schedule is a little crazy.
Yeah, I know, and she's missed some of the previous ones, but I just, since you're on, thanks. I just wanted to make sure that I will reach out to you and also the other reps and Senate side too. You're welcome to go.
Exact date
Well,
not
and-
set yet, Whitley.
But I don't have the dates yet. As soon as I get
Yeah,
that firmed up, I'll communicate more with everybody.
Yeah, well, and if you need, Bobby to send out the invites or try to encourage more participation, just let us know.
Yeah,
Thank
if
you.
you've never been 2,000 feet below the surface of the earth in a salt mine, it's quite a treat.
I'm going to trust you on that one.
Sage and Tim, did I have you guys on the list too?
Yes, please. And that would be a hold for me or for Ivan if Ivan wants to go.
I think Ivan might have gone before,
Has he?
but if
All right.
you may have, you have to ask him.
Yeah,
I know
I'll check in with him on
Justin
that.
didn't go either. I don't think, but I thought Ivan had gone before, but you can ask him.
Yeah, just put a hold in there for somebody from WRD and I'm
Yeah,
sure we can.
Justin was on my trip and we didn't get to go down.
Okay, David, your hand is still up. Did you have a comment or?
No, I was just asleep at the switch. So no. Yeah, I want to go. I want to go underground.
Oh, okay, great.
May regret it.
All right. Mark, Max, is there anything else before we move into public comment? Anyone?
I don't think so. I think this covers it all.
Okay, thank you all. It's been a great meeting. So the board meeting is now open for public comment. I see we have Liz Matson and Dan Solitz and Susan Coleman. Any of you have a comment? Well, hearing none, not seeing any activity, we're ready to close the meeting.
Oh, hang on, Jeff. Dan Solitz has something he'd like to make a
Okay.
comment.
Dan, please proceed.
Yes, thank you. It's been a great meeting today, just very dense, a lot of information. I have actually 3 areas that I wanted to cover. I think I'll take the simplest first. The next time we get a graph on commitment or of required spending to meet our commitment to cleanup, as well as the actual money that was received, I'd like to see a line on that graph of the hotel load, how much we're paying just to keep the satellite to do the cleanup, because I think that would emphasize the fact that the sooner we get that cleaned up, the less we have to spend on the hotel load. And then the other thing is on these radioactive transports from Hanford to other places in the country, the public involvement portion of that, I'd like to see a really good explanation of radioactive or radiation hazards and radiation levels done at a public involvement level, the 8th grade level. I think that would really help get that stuff moving out of Hanford to where it's safer for it to be. And then the third thing that was kind of brought to mind by the latest whistleblower award was the lack of good work on fire inspections in particular areas. And the area that I'm really concerned about is the sodium storage area, which also kind of impinges on the question of is the new nuclear renaissance going to have an effect on Hanford? I guess just for a little bit of a background on sodium, as probably you all know, does not play well with other elements. In air and water, it has fires. So there's a lot of sodium stored at the fast flux test facility, and some of it is from other sodium cooled reactors from around the country that have not been decommissioned. So I think in light of and there's one in the region, one sodium reactor going up in the region. So in light of all that, I think it would be good to give a rundown on the sodium at the fast flux test facility, the fire protection around it, and its future disposal plans. And so that concludes my comments. Thank you for listening.
Jeff, if I may, Dan, use this to follow back up on that. That might be a good topic for another meeting about, you mentioned the phrase nuclear renaissance, kind of what we're hearing around the industry and the country this right now. That might be something, a future presentation from maybe a DOE headquarters or some other. There's a lot of people who are involved in this industry that might be useful for setting context as to, I mentioned this sort of Hanford related. We need to stay focused on our core mission, Hanford issues, but I think there's some related and adjacent conversations, development, money flowing projects that might be of relevance to this board. So we can keep that in mind as a potential future topic. And
I think that the looking back at the history of the sodium metal reactor programs, the false steps that were taken, the hiding behind walls of secrecy there, would have a lot to teach us about what might go wrong with this new renaissance.
Tom, were you going to mention the 1230 thing, or do you have? Go ahead.
Yeah, one other concern that I had when I heard about that process, if it happens at the Hanford site, the infrastructure at the site is aging and road-wise. If you are already having a couple thousand people commute out to site to do cleanup and work at the VIT plant, and you have shipping campaigns coming at 20 trucks a week coming out and grout materials going in, what does that do for traffic, for commuters going into this new nuclear campus, as well as the folks who need to do the work on site?
Okay. On that note, we will close the meeting.
Jeff, we're going to keep, if you wouldn't mind, because we posted 12:30 as a comment opportunity for the public,
Okay.
board can, I think, officially depart, but we as staff will stay here until 12:30 in case
I'll stay
anybody
till 12:30.
happens to
I'll
pop
stay
up.
till 12:30.
It's one of those public meetings things that we posted the comment period, so we shouldn't close down before we get to that time.
Okay, very good. So for the board members, we're finished. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye all. Good meeting.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Jeff.
everyone.
Are you still recording?
Yep. Keep it recording until we're done.
Okay.
Well, I need to go off and take a break, Jeff, so I guess we'll just leave you with it.
Yeah, that's fine, Matt. We'll just hang out here for another 6 minutes and then be compliant with our public records, public meetings requirements.